Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Hello. It's Wednesday evening. It's the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. We're sat in the studio and we're going to be discussing Community Rugby League at its finest. Steve, what a weekend we saw. What a place Bentley is.
Yeah, what a place Bentley is. What a place Yorkshire is. The tour we had getting over there. All through Batley, all through Dewsbury.
Well, we found where Upton is.
That's it, yeah.
We found where Hemsworth is.
Yep.
So all these guys that we've been mentioning on our Yorkshire Men's League Roundups over the last couple of years, we actually know where you are now.
Yeah. We were going over to Doncaster, to Bentley at the weekend. For those of you who obviously listen to our broadcast, we get in there and we got about halfway down. We saw signs saying that the junction just about at Leeds and a little bit after was closed. So obviously we had to divert off. So fortunately, we always give ourselves plenty of time, and we had a nice little drive through Yorkshire.
It was Murfield, Batley, Dewsbury, Wakefield.
There was loads, wasn't it? It was like Yorkshire Men's League bingo we were playing, weren't we? We were marking them off as we went through. It was great. But I believe, it was only when I got home that obviously coming back the motorway was okay, it was clear.
Yeah.
But I believe the reason it was shut, that a vehicle had come down onto the motorway in the opposite direction and had actually crashed into a lorry.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking at the footage that was there, so it was quite bad. I mean, from our point of view, I suppose we were lucky in the sense that, we could get out of the way and get in and around. And thanks to the use of sat-nav and being able to switch things on and off, it was good. Really enjoyed it. But yeah, as Parky said,
and saying head towards Wakefield. There's a road that comes out of Wakefield where the sign's for Doncaster.
It was great, and the game and the day itself was really good as well.
We'll obviously tell you a little bit more about that as it happened. We've got a couple of interviews from the day as well with Hensingham's Miller Dalton, a real character of a player who I think is set for a long rugby league career, isn't he? He's just a baby in rugby league terms, just 18 years of age in the England Community Lions set up for the under-19s this coming season. And we also spoke with Andy Whitfield, who's the long-serving coach of Bentley. But yes, we've also got to look forward to. We've got one of Lorraine de Graaf's roundups to bring you from the Cumbria. That all kicked off in the Carla League. I'll tell you a little bit more about that as well. And of course, there's the rest of the Northwest Men's League fixtures and results. We've got another big game to prepare for, haven't we, at the weekend? We certainly have, and keeping a little bit local this time, so the mileage won't be as high, but it's somewhere which is, well, I'm and yourself are both familiar with, and we're headed into St Helens to watch Pilkington Rex play against Oldham St Anne's. So we've again put our nose to the ground, put our ears to the floor. We've gone and had a chat with both camps, and we'll be really pleased to bring you that. Right, but let us get started first of all, shall we? And I want to start, funnily enough, Cumbria. Okay, so it is actually the first weekend of the league season, this coming weekend. So I'll bring you the fixtures first of all that are coming up. So this is in the Holman Eagleson Premier League. You know you've been waiting for me to say that all
doesn't get any easier, does it?
So round one kicks off this coming Friday. Wathbrow A taking on Ellenborough A. And then on Saturday, we've got Askham up against Hensingham, Flimby up against Glasson Rangers, Aspatria up against Kells A, Lauker up against Issington, and Cockermouth, they've got a bye. Two things. I'm delighted to see three clubs which look like they're returning to the league there. So you've got Askham, Flimby, and Aspatria. Now, if you're thinking, Flimby, where have I heard of them before? Have you ever heard of him before?
No, it's all new to me, those.
So, you look on, I know this will be terrible for you as a St Helens fan, right? But you look on the Wigan club records. The club record score was achieved against Flimby and Fothergill. So that's probably a descendant of
There
that
we
club.
are.
This is what I'm thinking anyway. I'm sure when Lorraine hears this, she'll let me know if it's incorrect. Okay, but it was the preliminary round of the EB Lamb Amateur Cup this past weekend. Cockermouth took on Dissington A. At half-time, it was 18 points to 10 in favour of Cockermouth. Cockermouth had try scorers from Fraser Murray. He scored 2. Lewis Bancroft, Regan Tinian, Edgate and Willgate. Edgate had a busy game as well. He kicked 5 goals as well, as Cockermouth eventually beat Dissington A by 34 points to 16. The man of the match for Cockermouth was the aforementioned Edgate. Oliver Gray, however, blotted his copy, but playing for Cockermouth, he got himself sin-binned for dissent. Meanwhile, Dissington, they had tries from Damien Blacklock, Andy Hunter and Kaya Fraser, with conversions going the way of Deaton Askew, who kicked 2, and their man of the match was Bailey Worthington. Flimby, they opened their account with a 32 20-6 defeat at Espatria. Now at half-time they actually led Flimby, and their scorers overall were tries from Reese Booty, Yestin Hughes, Nathan Kirkbride and Ben Harrison, with goals split between Dan Weir, who kicked 4, and he also kicked a penalty conversion as well. The man of the match for Flimby was Nathan Kirkbride. Meanwhile, for Espatria, who came back from 20 points to 14 down at half-time, they had try scorers from Brad Thompson, who grabbed 2, Mark Irwin, Dan Potts, Jordan Ridley, Ben Tootle and Scott Donald all scoring tries. Conversions going the way of Ben Tootle, who kicked 3, and the man of the match was Scott Donald. Cockermouth, they'll now be away to Espatria in the quarter-final of the Cup on weekend 13th of April. And that's your roundup, really, of everything that's happening in Cumbria. It's getting to a busy start of the year, isn't it, for the Carlow League?
Yeah, it's all kicking off now, isn't it? Which is understandable. We had, obviously, the North West men's started this weekend, and I know in a couple of weeks the Yorkshire men's joins us, and so we'll be back on firing on all cylinders very, very soon.
Talking of the aforementioned North West Men's League, and it was a busy weekend, wasn't it, for week number 1? I know there was a couple of games that kind of bit the dust, but there was still a number of games that took place, wasn't there?
There was, yeah, and I should, in my notepad here, I should have the scores. So talk amongst yourselves, as they say, or as Parky said on Saturday, Steve, fill in, because my notes are blown away.
Yeah, that did involve a quick grab of the notes. Fortunately, what had happened there is, although they'd blown off me, sheet,
yeah,
they'd blown into that fence that was in front of us, so I was able to sort of swiftly grab.
Which was a good job at the end of the day.
It was really, wasn't it?
It was. So let's see what we can get up here as we go. So it would be March the 9th. I'm just trying to check on the. I don't think there was an Ashton Burrs and Isham Atoms. I think that was one of the games that possibly bit the dust, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, in the Premier League for the North West Men's, we had Erskfinch, who were up against Forley Lane, and it was Erskfinch 52, Forley Lane 4.
Great win that for the start of the season for Erskfinch, isn't it?
They'll get right into the stride, as it were. But obviously they've had some Challenge Cup action, so they'll be a bit on the fresher side. So I know there's been a gap in between, but I'm sure that would have stood them in some good stead. And then we had Oral St James up against Blackbrook, which is always a tasty fixture when it's on the calendar. And it was Oral St James 19, Blackbrook 12. So
close run thing there.
Another one that was...
sounds like it was a cracker, that one.
Yeah. Then we've got Shevington Sharks up against Halton Farmworth Hornets. It was Shevington Sharks 14, Halton Farmworth Hornets 46. So
decent win on the road, that, wasn't it, for Halton Farmworth Hornets?
Yeah, then we slip down into Division 1. We've got Burton Wood Bridge up against West Horton Lions, and this was one of the games that I featured. Obviously, I highlighted last week because I said Burton Wood Bridge. I said I think they would hit the ground running and would do well in this division. And from this first game, I'm not wrong, because it was Burton Wood Bridge 40, West Horton Lions 12. So that is a really, really good win for their first foray into it, Division 1. Then we have Dalton 30, Wigan St Cuthbert's 8.
Decent win that for Dalton.
Goulburn Parkside 12 up against Tatterheath Crusaders A 26. Not surprising to a certain degree, because obviously Tatterheath Crusaders A have been in and around that division for a while now, and obviously they dip in and out of their first team, and obviously that they fill it with other team members as well from lower down the age range.
I was going to say, don't start already early season saying that there's NCL players playing in that. I tell you what, there'll be all hell breaking loose.
I mean, that's the way it is, unfortunately. That's the rules as they say, and as much as I'm one that was against it, it is what it is.
If you're an NCL club as well, where else do you play your fringe players?
Well, that's
where
it.
else can you play them?
Well, the thing is, you've got to have an A team, I mean, that's part of the
it's
structure.
part of getting in it.
Yeah. Other than the NTL putting together a league that you can have all your A teams in, this and the Yorkshire Men's League are the only way they can do it, really, aren't they?
Definitely.
So you go. That's Goulburn Parkside up against Tatterheath Crusaders A. Then Inley 30, Chorley Panthers 18. And then finally in the Division 1, Ulverston 40, Salford City Roosters 10. That's a very good win for Ulverston there.
Really good win that, yeah, because I mean they had a good season last year, didn't they, Salford Roosters?
Then we go down into Division 2, and last week when we were doing Division 2, I said West Bank Bears had a bye, which they did on the fixtures that I saw. But apparently Wigan Springview are in Division 2, and they were taking on West Bank Bears, and it was Wigan Springview 10, West Bank Bears 26. Good win for them. Lee Miners Rangers A 16, Hindpool Tigers 50. Now that fixture was actually reversed, and it was at Hindpool Tigers. Why, I'm not sure about that, but then we've got Roost Pioneers. They were up against Newton Storm, and it was Roost Pioneers 20, Newton Storm 12. And I know this one was actually, the match was finished early because one of the Newton Storm players had a bad injury to his arm. So with Roost Pioneers being, I suppose to a certain degree, at the time of the finish so far in front, it was, sort of the right thing. We've
got another one of those games actually, which came to a close early, to tell you about later on in our National Conference League roundup.
Yeah. So then we have last year or beginning of the season, Walney Central were in the league, but apparently they must have pulled out. So Ashton Bears didn't have any game. But the last game in that division was Waterhead Warriors A 4, Rochdale Mayfield A 22, and again this was a fixture that was reversed, so it was actually out to Rochdale Mayfield. Down into Division 3, one of the teams I was on about was Bank Bulls, who'd obviously moved up a division, and it was Bank Bulls 46, Wigan St Jude's A 12.
Wow.
That's
decent.
A bit of a statement, then, I think. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if they can keep that up. But having watched them in the finals last year, I think it was in Shrewsbury, and speaking to their coach, they're a tidy side, I must admit. Then we got Garswood Stags 58, Cadishead Rhinos 6. Then we were missing a couple of Blackpool Scorpions we didn't have a result for, or Higginshaw and Clockface Miners A. But down into, Lee East A versus Runcorn Highfield. Lee East A 16, Runcorn Highfield 29. So
big win that. Really good win that for Runcorn Highfield. Yeah.
Again, them and Bank Bulls, as I say, I was surprised they didn't jump a couple of divisions, but hey, I mean, you can only play up against the guys that they put you up against.
And it strengthens that division,
yeah,
something chronic, doesn't it? To be fair, with the inclusion of them two teams.
Very much. And then in Division 4, Culture the Eagles 28, Oddle St James 8. And this next one really pleased me. Two teams who we've got a soft spot for is Liverpool Lizards and Bolton RLFC for different reasons.
You're going to say 16 all here, right?
No, it was Liverpool Lizards 34, Bolton 10. But Liverpool Lizards this season so far, just listen to some of the results, sort of friendly results, and listen to the way some of the Twitter sort of noise that's been coming out of there of how they're shaping up. It's it sounds like they did the right thing dropping down a couple of seasons ago.
Is that what we're going to call it this season? The Twitter noise.
Twitter noise,
The Twitter noise.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we could be giving out IMG points at this rate.
It's absolutely superb. I tell you, Porticovine was up against Chester Gladiators, but again, for some reason, that was postponed.
Okay.
So Porticovine didn't get a chance to get off the mark, as it were. But the last one was West Orton Lions A up against Aydock. I had to look at the team sheet for Aydock, and there was a few familiar names there.
Did you recognise some? Yeah.
I certainly did. Bacon was one, Andy Bacon, I think his name is.
Okay.
So I think a couple of the guys had come back from other clubs. And it was West Orton Lions A4, Aydock 62.
Wow.
So
that's a big win, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, fair play. Yeah. We'll look forward to hearing how Haydock progressed this season.
We'll certainly be keeping that. I mean, we did in the past because certainly when they were up and running before with their open age side, they were always sort of good contributors to the show, and we're always well pleased, for having a bit of a chat with us. Hopefully, we can do that again and see how they go on.
The fixtures this coming week, according to the fixture list as they stand at this moment in time, but we all know these things can change. Teams can swap round, and all sorts can happen. In the Northwest Men's League Premier Division, this one catches my eye. Blackbrook taking on Hurst Finch.
Yeah.
Then you've got Folly Lane hosting Ashton Burrs. Halton Farmworth Hornets against Orrell St James as well, Steve.
Yeah, I just think I've highlighted that one because these two have always been in that top 3-4 of that division, and certainly Halton being at home, I think that will be a bit more of an advantage. But Orrell St James, as we know, they are very good.
Heysham Atoms, they're home against Wigan Springview, while Latchford Albion, they're hosting Shevington Sharks. Tell you what, them two could have a ground off, couldn't they?
Yeah, they certainly could.
With the work that both of them have done over the last few years, and the circumstances that they find themselves in. In Northwest Men's League Division 1, we've got Chorley Panthers hosting Dalton. We've got Burtonwood Bridge making the short trip over to Salford City Roosters. Thatto Heath Crusaders A are up against Hindley. Now, a quick word here for Hindley, because they had a massive launch event last Wednesday. Unfortunately, we couldn't attend, but it was attended by over 900 people.
Yeah.
And in the Edge in Wigan, which is a big fancy place. That's near the old Wigan Pier. And they've now renamed themselves. So the Hindley Stags. They've got a lovely logo.
Yeah,
I said that I will give him a mention, this coming week, and I'm looking forward to seeing sort of whether the new look means that we get a new attitude on the pitch, whether we see Hindley really being competitive in this league, because they were in the Premier Division last year, and found the going. They found the going tough, didn't they, really?
But sometimes you've got to go down, haven't you?
Oh, exactly.
Because of the state of players leaving, because of age, players leaving maybe for a good reason, in the sense that they've got contracts with professional sides, etc.
Yeah. So they're an excellent club, Hindley. And I think to be able to put on a do like that and have over 900 people in attendance, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? When a lot of people look around Wigan and they think, St Jude's, they think, St Pat's, there's another new kid on the block, I think, that's pushing their way through. But other than that, the other fixtures are West Horton Lions at home to Goulburn Parkside, Wigan St Cuthbert's hosting Ulverston. In Northwest Men's League Division 2, Ashton Burrs A are at home against Waterhead Warriors A. This one's a bit of a local derby. Hindpool Tigers up against Roos Pioneers, and this one is one that you've picked out as well. Newton Storm up against Walney Central. Yeah,
that now is a bye for Newton Storm, because, as I say, Walney Central have dropped out of the league.
Okay, yep, fair enough. So every time we see Walney Central in any fixtures, then they're not actually going to be playing this season, are they? Okay. Rochdale Mayfield A host Wigan Springview. Meanwhile, West Bank Burrs, they're at home against Leet Miners Rangers A. In Northwest Men's League Division 3, Cadishead Rhinos, they're up against Bank Bulls. Clockface Miners A host Blackpool Scorpions. Higgins Shaw Well, they've got a local affair against Oldham St Anne's away at St Anne's. Meanwhile, Garswood Stags make the short hop over to Runcorn Highfield. And, this one should be a tasty one as well. Wigan St Jude's A at home against Lee East A. And in Division 4, we've got Bolton, who have the bye. Chester Gladiators are set to play against West Horton Lions A side. Haydock, they're at home against your new favourite club, the Liverpool Lizards.
Yeah, and the reason I highlighted that is that obviously Liverpool Lizards, it'll be a little bit of a benchmark. It'll be tough. There's no ifs and buts because it looks as though Haydock, I've more or less got it together, as it were. But it's a good benchmark for them, and I'm sure they'll enjoy the trip down there. And it will be a tough match, but let's see what the results like. That'll be very interesting.
Culture Eagles, they're another side that's in a rebuilding phase. They're over at Langworthy Reds. And finally, but by no means least, Orrell St James A, they're hosting Portico Vine.
Yeah, and obviously with the cancellation of the Portico Vines game last week, that will be the first game. And again, it'll be interesting to see how they do, because I know we know they've been waiting a while to get an open age side up and running there at Portico Vine. It's a cracking venue. I mean, we've been to a cracking venue this weekend, and it was that same sort of vibe when we were there than when we've been round to Portico Vine and see what they've getting together and the way they're using their facility a little bit further on. In the sense of how they're using it, but it's a great sort of template of how others can utilise the building and make as much revenue as possible to plough back into the club to help things move forward.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's being able to utilise what you've got to the best of your ability and to hopefully make it pay and start getting the cash cow. Start milking that cash cow.
Well,
it's all about that, isn't it?
Well, it is at the end of the day.
But all money that is created just gets reinvested, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it's like when you hear about companies and social value and things like that. If anything is community based, that you're going to get so much social value out of it.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be done. It's going to be done right, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember when I first went up to and saw Portico Vines Club, and it's nice, it's very nice. And then I looked at it, I thought, it's a bit standard, this, and it wasn't. I had the impression, and I suppose this is because a lot of what happens is it's done the opposite way around, where a lot of clubs have moved into premises that have already been built or have already been there. So, for instance, they move into, say, a social club or something like that. So you've got various rooms, etc., which are already, and it's been purpose built for that specific social club type scenario. But what the template was, and I have a feeling this is a standard template, is you've got your various changing rooms, and then you've got one big room with your bar in. But when you look at it logically, you think about it, doesn't need much changing around to use for various things, and how you want to use it to get more benefit out of it. Very similar when I went to we went on Saturday to up to Bentley.
To Bentley, yeah.
Very similar in that respect. So I understand that now, and you look at a few other places that are up and around, certainly the newer ones. You look at them and you think, they look a bit the same, but the bottom line is they're the same for a reason, that you can get more revenue out of them without having to pay a lot more than what you have to pay, and it is a lot anyway to get what you've got. And I think that's excellent.
And also there's certain specifications that you've got to do as a new build.
Yeah.
So you've got to have, certain dimensions with regards to dressing rooms. How you fit those dressing rooms out is another matter, as Bentley showed us.
Yeah.
But also I think it is important, and I know when we were talking to the guys at Bentley, they were saying that had they had their time again, they would probably have looked to have made the utilities room a little bit smaller. And had more space in the bar area.
Yeah.
But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And the good thing there at Bentley is the fact that they've got this area next to the clubhouse, haven't they, that they can utilise and change that space. You know, we saw them there with one of these massive tarpaulins. Structures, awning type things, didn't we? You know, at the side, and that can double up as a bar area. You can put bands in there. You could have it as extra changing facilities for festivals. There's so many uses and so many different parts.
It's got that flexibility, hasn't it?
Definitely.
Which is what you want, because as soon as it's flexible, then you're going to get more revenue out of it.
Yes,
and you know, in the past, a lot of things have not been run on a business format or you know, with a business head on, and I think a lot of these places now are getting savvy and thinking, you know what, rather than us have to sell, you know, and I'm sure, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they still do football cards and all those types of things, but those types of things were, you know, you really relied on in the past to get your money. Where now, by being, you know, a bit more business savvy, you know, you can look at different ways of getting the revenue in and getting people in to buy more of those more of those football cards, etc., or have an extra pint or maybe extra something to eat, enjoy the day. Then next time they come down, they may bring a friend down. So it's that knock-on process, and it's basic business sense, and a lot more clubs are getting savvy to that, which is great.
Our conversation has kind of morphed, hasn't it? You know, so we've gone kind of like talking about as Portico have developed their ground into, you know, the Bentley conversation. Well, I've got to say, I really, really enjoyed this game. I enjoyed the afternoon immensely. We were there broadcasting as part of 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Live via our Mixlr channel. I'll tell you what, let's hear the best of the action, shall we, Steve? The two of them stand up and just admire the run. Oh, and then that's a lovely cut-out ball, and he's barreling his way through, and a swan dive to finish as well. Dion Crow goes over by the posts. Brilliant bit of play from Luke Charlton. The two prop forwards linking up to perfection. He's sent left. Oh, it's intercepted here. And he's got a clear open pasture in front of him. Has he got the pace to go all the way?
DK chasing him down.
He's being chased down, but Wetherill goes in and out. He's brought down 10 metres out from the line. He's got to play this ball. Branthwaite at dummy half. Branthwaite runs right. Branthwaite slips it out. It's another try for Hensingham. Superb pass, and Callum Morgan gets in from Branthwaite. But it all came courtesy of that bit of ingenuity. And then on the halfway line are Bentley. Lovely weighted passes to the left. It's got again. Intercepted. This time by Ruben Butterworth. Clear space in front of him. Ruben Butterworth snatching and picking the pocket. Well, Bentley brought it down the left-hand side. Johnny Marshall thought that he was working out to Harley Deakin, and instead Ruben Butterworth picked his pocket and went half the length of the field.
Parky, get onto the police.
He needs to get his hands on this ball more, does Marchant. It looks every time he gets it. They make meters, don't they, Bentley? Sent to the left-hand side, trying to spin their way over, and they've managed it as well. Johnny Marshall somehow piercing his way through the defence, and it all seemed to be softened up in the previous 2 or 3 tackles by the likes of Marchant and the likes of Scott Smith. But they're on the board, Bentley. Good ball onto Miller Dalton, who loses his footing shy of the line, and he's stopped ever so short. Then it's put left to Wetherill. Wetherill diving through. That could be the crucial score. He celebrates with his teammates, raises his arm aloft, and Hensingham have stretched their advantage out to 20 points to 6. Then the tackle was a good one on the next player coming through the hole. It was like the next cab off the rank.
Final tackle.
It's played. Now it's Keller. Keller getting between defenders. Keller's got there.
He's in.
That could be the game. That's a tremendous score from Keller. Oh, it's then dropped cold by Crow. And a chance here for Seaman. Seaman diving. Can he get over? He's got over the line.
Referee says yes.
Says yes. Yeah. So Conway will send it left to Keller. Keller has time. Pumps the ball high. He's juggled and put down, and they'll go for it. McGarry has picked it up, and McGarry goes in. That's the game. And just moments ago, he was getting patched up. It didn't look like he could move. This kick from halfway.
Halfway.
He's fired it. He's got it. It kept low. It kept low, but it sailed over the posts.
It went like an Exocet missile from the halfway line. It was about 10 feet, a little bit higher.
It doesn't matter how they go, as long as they go over. Referee decides that's all we've got time for. The celebrations commence. Well, they haven't tasted victory too often as of late of Hensingham. This has been a deserved performance. They've won by 34 points to 10, Steve. So yeah, Hensingham spoiling Bentley's party. Tell you what, they're not going to be getting many welcomes, are they, after that?
They're not, and I'll tell you what, I just wondered, did they phone the police?
I like my other little faux pas that was in that, talking about seamen diving for the line.
Yep.
I never know what I've said when I do these commentaries. That's the beauty of when these things get listened back.
To be fair, it was really good game, and it sounded from the commentary, but obviously we're just snippeting up there, so you heard all the tries and obviously that was absolutely superb goal from the halfway line, because there was, and as you could hear on the commentary, there was quite a bit of a breeze blowing from the station end, you might call it, because we had loads of trains going past.
We did.
But the game itself was a really, really good game, and it certainly wasn't one-sided. I mean, there was a lot of chances that Bentley did have, and if they could have cashed in on them, it would have been a closer scoreboard. But it was a really entertaining game.
Well, when you consider as well that two of those Hensingham tries came courtesy of interceptions.
That's right.
I mean, you take those out of the equation, and possibly have one going the other way, because the pass, had he missed it when he went from halfway, would have resulted in a try, I feel, for Bentley, because they'd opened the field up, hadn't they? They'd done really, really well bringing it down that. And as you said, there was the pocket which was pinched and phoned the police, because there's a real robbery that took place there.
It was. I mean, once you could understand it, but twice you thought, but I mean, give them the due from Hensingham. They got in there and they played some really, really good stuff. Kelly at half-back was really good, and obviously the full-back was spot on too.
I know Jay Weatherall really impressed you.
Yeah.
For me, I thought Kelly was a fulcrum in fairness. I thought that so much run through him, and you can see why he's the captain of that club.
Yeah.
Still a pretty young fella himself. He's only 22 years of age, but he's been in that first team now for about 5 or 6 seasons, where he's been sort of bobbing around. He's really built his experience, has played for the Community Lions as well, and I think that they've got some real decent young players that are starting to push through. I want to give a special mention to Logan McAvoy. As a 17-year-old, it was his debut. He played the full 80 minutes in the second row. I've already given Miller Dalton a bit of a rap as well. He was excellent. And, when you've got a veteran at 30 in Josh Rogerson, it shows that the rest of your team's pretty young, doesn't it, as well, to be fair. But there was also a good I was going to say cameo performance from Theo Crow. He's another youngster that I feel is really pushing his way forward. And then you look at some of the other dangerous players that they've got. Callum Morgan looked pretty sharp at certain points, and then Danny McGarry going over. I mean, he was their top try scorer last season with 11. So. I think that this points to a decent season ahead for Hensingham. I don't know what you thought about it. I mean, I know we're just going off an 18-minute performance, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it was strange actually, because we watched the game, but we got sent through some bios, didn't we, on some of these players, and it was only later, like Parky's just been saying there and pointing out the edges of some of these guys. They're absolutely slotted into the team. It looked as though they've been playing in that team for sort of quite a few years, and to be honest, Bentley had some big lads up front as well, didn't they?
They did, and to be fair, they mixed it. This also was a little bit of a historic occasion as well, because it's the first time we talked about the dual registration coming into focus, didn't we, between the professional and semi-professional clubs.
Yeah.
And players going back to play community rugby. And we saw evidence of that with Luke Charlton. So Luke Charlton was a former Hensingham captain before he got snapped up by Workington Town, and he found himself back at his boyhood club.
Yeah.
And it looked like he'd not been away. Yeah. The beauty for me looking at that was that he didn't look out of place. And whether that says something about the rest of the team as well, and that they were all up on a similar sort of level, weren't they?
Yeah. And I must admit, having seen the result from the week before, where they got beat 6-0.
6-0, yeah.
It was one of those. What was that game like? What were they like? At the end of the day, 6-0. They must have still defended well for keep it just to 6-0. But we saw their attacking prowess, didn't we? And it was quality. It was, and as you said, Kelly, as everything went through his hands, much like the previous week when we was at Crossfield, and everything was going through. Was it Ben? It was
all going through. I knew you'd do this to me. I knew you'd do this to me. So it was all going through Brad Stanway's hands.
That's
wasn't
right.
it?
Yeah. It was very, very much similar in that sort of. He was the pivot in the middle. The props were coming in either side of the post, and he was pulling it back and forward and pulling the strings. And his eyes were up all the time. He knew always he could see when Weatherall was coming into the line. The second half, Weatherall's kicking was, that was because they were with the wind, it was behind them, and they utilised it a lot better.
The chase was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. There were some good eye kits, and they put a couple of good deep ones in, which Bentley never tried in the first half, which was a shame, really, because I think that would have helped him a little bit more.
I mean, it wasn't all negative from a Bentley point of view at all, was it? Ryan Craswell, he was industrious in the back row. You got Scott Smith, who never ever stopped, and the skipper. You can see again why he's the captain of the ship there, can't you? Because he's an excellent player. And then there was an element of youngsters, like amongst this squad as well. So you got young wingers, Harry Deakin and Alex Golightly, who both, trialled with the England Community Lions under 16s last year. And Alex Golightly actually represented his country. He got all the way through to selection, so he's got a big future. I like the look of Johnny Marshall as well. Even though he's small, he was very nippy, wasn't he? And then you got Ben Sykes as well, who was another young player who's starting to push his way forward. Again, just 18 years of age there. So, it was another one of these where, for me, looking forward, there's so much for both of those clubs to build on. Let's get some post-game reactions, shall we? So after the match, I caught up with the character Miller Dalton.
Okay, I'm really pleased to be joined by Miller Dalton. Miller, what a game, what a performance for game number 2 for the season for you.
Yeah, it was. We started off slow last week with a loss, and we come down here with a strong side, and we defended really well. And our attack, we finished off really good.
From your point of view, that looked like a strong performance from you. Is that just typical Miller Dalton?
Yeah, that's just me, but it was all the inside and outside push helping us out.
What's it like playing alongside guys like Jack? Because imagine there was one point in particular that I can think of during that game where it was like the two of you were just out on the training field, just interlocking passes and that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's what it's like. It's just like we just hit off each other all the time. If it's I'm passing to him or he's going back, vice versa.
I get the feeling that this is a team that you really enjoy being part of.
Yeah, it really is,
and this is like, what, your second season up now?
Yeah, this is my second season. And last year it wasn't a strong season. We had a young side, which we still do now, but it's all about the new structure we've got at the club.
I think it does point to stronger times ahead, doesn't it?
It does.
What's changed though? You say about new structure, has a new coach come in?
New coach, Chris Coward. Everything's changed really, just the training, pre-season, that's what won us the game, fitness.
Yeah, you got stuck in, didn't you? And not really ground them down. And I suppose as well to score 6 tries out here when weather conditions probably restricted your scoring last week. You got to be pleased with that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, really pleased with it. And everyone dug in till the end.
And then finally, obviously, it'd be remiss of me not to mention, because you're in the under-19s England Community Lions squad. How thrilled are you to be part of that?
I'm buzzing. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait.
I know obviously we've got quite a few training sessions before we go and part for the European Championships. Are you just looking forward to getting involved in all of it?
Yeah, I just can't wait.
Miller, thank you so much.
No worries, thank you.
So he did well there, didn't he? As I was I cut myself off there, and I said to him, first interview done and dusted, Miller.
Yeah, he was good. He was. We know we had a little bit of an hiccup at the beginning, but it doesn't matter. these guys, for me, these days, they seem so confident in doing these things.
What that didn't capture was my own hiccup. I have enough of these hiccups when I'm doing these interviews, to be honest. So don't go mentioning anybody's hiccups, because usually that's my domain. That.
Yeah, got to mention before we move on to our next interview, Parky. As he does, he goes off to get all these interviews, and he leaves me to pack up or set up and do those types of things. Well, he was at the beginning of the day. He was off, and he was hobnobbing with all the dignitaries. Tell our listeners who was there.
Well, there was the Bentley chairman, Pete Werner. Yeah,
Peter was very, very nice, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was a bit of a guided tour.
Cracking lad.
There was Nick Pownall there, who provided us with the team news.
Yeah.
There was the local MP.
Yeah. And who did that local MP happen to be?
It was Ed Miliband.
Ed Miliband.
Yeah.
I was disappointed he didn't bring Steve.
But who'd have thought? Who'd have thought Ed Miliband? I'm looking forward to him taking out a Doncaster season ticket now.
Well, yeah, and when I had a look at the picture as well, because he was there and he just looked like one of the spectators, didn't he? Did you notice? Yeah.
See, it wouldn't have happened if you got a Boris Johnson there, would you?
No.
He would have turned up in his Bentley. He would have turned up in his Bentley.
In his Bentley, in a Crombie.
But Tony Sutton was there as well from the RFL, and he gave a few words as well, and there was a couple of other dignitaries, Carl Hall, who interesting to find out, and perhaps a lot of our listeners won't know, but Carl Hall, he went on and played. Well, he was a Kiwi international, played for Doncaster, played professionally as well for Leeds and a couple of other clubs as well. Bradford, I think, he's on his crib sheet.
Yeah, his CV,
on his CV. And well, when he finished playing professionally, he joined Bentley and played a couple of seasons with them and became their coach.
Yeah.
So he's got links with that
he's got
club.
Links there, yeah.
And he was saying that when they'd got wind that the Rugby League World Cup was looking at hosting cities and hosting towns, he had a dream that he wanted to get, like 2 or 3 of the internationals to be held in Doncaster. Very successful. It's not all down to him, by the way. There is a lot of other people that were involved, and the local council really, put their weight behind the bids as well. But he said longer term, it was all in the hope that they could get hold of a legacy and create a legacy, and they've done that with that clubhouse at Bentley, because I've seen some pictures of what it used to look like, and there was nothing there. It was just 2 pitches.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really nice. I mean, they've done a cracking job, and you've got to take your hats off to all local businesses that have helped them. Because
you've had some local businesses that have helped, haven't they?
Pete was telling us, the various guys who have done things for them and have given time, obviously time, money, and sort of a lot of effort.
Now, I also mentioned as well that I did do a little bit of filming when they were doing the presentations, but I've been trumped. So there was a guy from Doncaster who was the media guy, and he's put a video out already. So he's trumped me. I've not been able to get it all done in time. This is what happens when you've got other jobs and other roles to do. Can't get the staff, can you? Can't get the staff.
Yeah, but the bottom line is we did the commentary.
Yeah. It was a great effort.
Yeah,
so
enjoyed it.
Bentley's big day was spoiled by Hensingham. Boo. But what did the head coach of Bentley think about it? We're going to hear now from Andy Whitfield.
Well, Andy, we're in the aftermath of the game. 34 points to 10 against your Bentley boys. Your thoughts on it?
Obviously it's a wake-up call. First game of the season. We know they played last week, we never, but it were massive. They looked a yard quicker than us, to be fair to them. They've adapted to rules a lot quicker and better than what we have, I think. I think penalties have played a big part of us. We just can't tackle that many sets, especially back-to-back as well. It's a killer. and we've got to get better at that and adapt pretty quick.
I think particularly first half you did struggle with that, didn't you? Because I think at half time penalty came with something like 7-4 or something like that. I think.
Well, I spoke to Neil. He does the stats on side. 9-3 penalty counts at half time. Sorry to correct.
No, it's fine.
But no, it's exactly right. I mean, the two of their tries in first half, which come through interceptions, you know, they made the break from interception, then scored on next play. Then second one were an interception. They're killers, aren't they? You know, you're attacking their line, and all of a sudden you're 12 points down. So, but we've got to learn. You know, it's no good beating ourselves up too long. We've got to dust ourselves off and go again, haven't we?
That's the beauty of National Conference League Rugby, isn't it? You've got next week and you're building it. It gives you sort of a yardstick of where you're up to, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah. We know, I said before game when I was talking to people in build-up, I was saying these are going to be a good side. I know they've made some good signings from higher divisions, and last week that would have been their wake-up call. You know, they've got beat in a close game. They've come here to prove a point and they've done it, so fair play to them. I thought they were a good side and they were deserved of their win today.
And perhaps when you, because the guy you talked about is the fullback Wetherill, who's played at Loughborough, you know, and was NCL top scorer last year. When you've got guys like that out there, you know you've got a job to do, don't you?
Of course you have, yeah. You're always up against it, you know. He's seeing things different, isn't it? You know, they played, like I say, played last week. They're a yard faster. They're coming on back a good ball, and we've just got to get to grips to it, get to grips with new rules, and get to grips with speed at game as well.
I feel sort of a little bit deflated because I know the day that it's been, you know, and I just want to touch upon what the day has been as well, because obviously you've had plenty of dignitaries coming down. You've really put Bentley in the spotlight with this brilliant facility that, you know, a lot of people's worked so hard over a number of years to put together. It's a real testament for you. I suppose, how do you sort of sum up the day? You know, we've also got to separate it into two things, haven't we? Because you've got Bentley going forward into the future, and sort of as it stands now.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah, you've got to take a step back. Yeah, all right, we were here for rugby, and the results put a bit of a dampener on the day. But then when you step back and look at realistically what we've done and what we've achieved. Today we're all about opening this facility. Yes, it's nice to get a result. Unfortunately, that's rugby, and we haven't got that. But like you've just said, you know, this is all about the future now. I know it got said in speech and in ceremony, opening ceremony, if you like to call it. It's all about, we're going to get a year or two out of this current open age team, but then it's what comes after that, and that's what it's all about: building, bringing kids through, getting everybody playing rugby, and hopefully progressing like we see other clubs. You know, you look at your likes of Siddles, Westalls, all them in top divisions. They've all got their own facilities, and they're building. They're a community club. That's what we wanted to get here, and hopefully that's what we'll see in the next few years.
It's a catalyst to make everybody in Doncaster sit up and take notice, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah. You know, it's been said before, we were a pub team. We went from pub to pub, and you know, when current climate, pubs are shutting all the time, so we had to move on to his next venue. We were lucky down at the Rugby Union Club. They were a good facility, and we learnt a lot from them, and we saw how they operated, and we wanted to be a bit of that. You know, Rugby League so far behind Union. When you look at some of the facilities, when you go around Yorkshire area and stuff like that, playing Rugby Union and seeing what they've got, and we are envious of it. Of course we are. But now, hopefully, we get a few more places like this dotted round, and we're competing. We're getting up there. You know, parents aren't thinking, well, I'm going to take my kid to so and so because it's better facilities. We didn't want kids playing out of a pub. You know, yeah, we have had to do it, but it were all to build towards this, which is great.
You mentioned about looking towards the future. To be honest, that team was partly looking towards the future, wasn't it? Because you got like 4 players under the age of 20, which bodes well for the future coming forward, doesn't it?
Definitely. We've got, like you say, we've got 4 there who's come from last year's under 16s. So it's a big step for them. One of them played a couple of games back end of last year, and he slotted in fantastically. And then you see him, I think 2 made the debut today. So it's all good. Like you've just said there, 4's come through our juniors. You've got Sykes, who's 18, I think, and then you've got Charlie, Harry and Alex, who are all 16. So it's massive, and that's what we want. You know, as much as the field, the results matter, it's getting them kids coming through as well and keeping them interested, keeping them playing. We don't want to lose them to other sports or like the Rugby Union. get them down here, get them playing, and it's only going to get better and better. You know, as they come through, them lads who are gaining experience now bring the next generation on, and we'll just keep kicking on like that.
This is the start of the story. This is the start of something, isn't it?
Yeah, I like to think so. That's what we keep telling ourselves. We've just said that in there. It's not. I go on again about the result. Yeah, it's a poor result today for us, but we've just got to build and build and build, and that's what we've got to do. It's first game at season. At some point, some of them other under-16s from last year will get a run out in this team this year. The training well, you know, they will push on, and with injuries, it's a long season. They're all, not all, I won't say all, but they are going to get a run, and they will come, and it's just for future. You know, the under-15s, what we've got currently playing, 2-3 years, they're going to be out there playing. We're going to be watching them on a Saturday. So, that's the bigger picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. There's nothing better than an open age player cleaning his boots outside, is there? It's funny. It's funny. Actually.
It's authentic, but obviously, I was doing those interviews outside the dressing rooms, and you could hear the music getting pumping up, couldn't you? There from the Hensingham dressing
something
room.
I've always thought about. I used to play quite a bit of golf, and what started to happen, and a lot of clubs have them now. When you come off the golf course, so you don't take all your muddy feet or grassed up feet into the changing rooms, because obviously golf shoes have studs on as well, or cleats, I think the actual term is, and they get grass in them. But what they have, a lot of clubs, they have an air dispenser. You know when you go doing your tyres?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like that. So you're on your shoes and you blow it all off, and it comes off, and they're like absolutely superb, clean as anything. I'm thinking, that's what they're missing.
You're missing it. You could have got a job lot. That could have sponsored the show for the next sort of 6 years, couldn't it? You know,
absolutely superb. Just blows them all off, cleans them all off, so you don't get that where they're banging on the wall of the changing rooms.
Have you got a company that does this? We want to speak to you. We've got 46 clubs that might be interested.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a lovely facility, and like he says that. You don't want to lose. Everybody. The bottom line is you ought to win. If you're not got in your mind that you're not bothered about winning, then for me, you shouldn't be on the pitch as such. I think that should be in your mind first and foremost. The bottom line is when you lose, don't get despondent. The bottom line is as well that for them that was the first game of the season. Like you said, the youngsters that were playing. I mean, you got to take your hat off. You know, because it was a bruising game, and
it sounds like there's more youngsters where they came from as well, doesn't it? You know, and that over the next sort of 12, 18 months, they're going to get more opportunities. And it sounds like Andy is that sort of coach where he will give and reward those opportunities, won't he? Yeah. I know he's been involved for several years. In fact, do you remember when we got there and he says, Dave, I'm really glad to see you. Not seen you since that Challenge Cup game.
That's right. Yeah.
So it is great, and this is why I love doing what we do and getting out to places, because people start to recognise you and start to know, and with what we're doing as well, there's a real genuineness about it, because we want all of these clubs to be the best version of themselves, don't we? And we want everybody to enjoy playing the rugby league first and foremost. And we want to see some bloody good games for starters, don't we? Which we're getting.
The other thing as well, and this is obviously listeners, what me and Parky tend to do. Parky publishes the game after we finish doing the commentary. So anybody who obviously hasn't listened to it live can then pick up on it and listen to it when they want. And what we do, we listen to it on the way coming back from the games, just to see how we've done, and so we can analyse our game as well. And I'm thinking, well, if me and Parky are driving them back listening to it, why aren't the clubs who have played and they're having to drive back? Why don't you listen to the game on the way back? Because obviously, if we're commentating on a club that's in your division, or if you've played and you've won, certainly you want to hear how it'd be nice to hear how you've gone on, what it sounded like, and all about your try scorers. Get it downloaded, get it on the bus, and you got a nice little something to listen to on the way home.
No, you're breaking it up here, Steve. You're breaking it up. We want everybody listening to it individually for the stats purposes. We don't want one person putting it on and then 52 people. We only get the one on the stats. I am only jesting.
Yeah. So driver, don't put it on the courts. Let them all put it on their own phones.
We're happy. We're happy. Whoever listens to us, if somebody thinks that we're worth listening to, then that is good for us. To be fair, we have had some really nice feedback from what we're doing so far, which is good, and long may that continue. We're out and about this coming weekend, but before we get to that, I want to run through the rest of the results and talk you through what's gone on in the Premier Division, in Division 1, in Division 2 and Division 3 of the National Conference. So let's start first of all with the Premier Division, and it was a win for Hunslet. They hosted Loch Lane. They won by 34 points to 10. Tyler Dargan amongst the tries again. I've got to say,
can't stop him, can you?
There's one of his tries as well, and Craig McShane takes the ball from full-back, picks his way through and feeds it so unselfishly out to Dargan. And let's be honest, them two together, they've got pace to burn, haven't they?
To be fair, McShane had done all the hard work, hadn't he? I mean, it was one of those where I don't want to call him a goal anger, but in the day, obviously the guy who's the coach now, who used to play at Wigan at number 6, don't like saying his name, but he used to go over, score loads of tries, but you think, just hang on, you never did any hard work. You were just on the shoulder of Martin O'Fire when he brought through, and he passed the ball to you, and you go under the sticks.
Are we talking Edwards here?
Oh, see, you've done it now.
I've ruined it.
You've done it.
Okay, sorry about that.
Wash your mouth out with soap.
Kells won at home against Egremont Rangers. A couple of interesting try scorers in this. So Grant Gameford, who we spoke about quite often on the show in the past. Murtagh, so he's another one of the Community Lions under-19s that he's going to be heading over to the European Championships. He also got himself on the scoreboard as well. And Ennis, who's previously represented the England Community Lions, he was another try scorer. And Dom Weir, who is one of the players that is trialling for the Open Age. He kicked 4 goals as they won 24 points to 8. Bit of a tough opening stint, really, this, isn't it, for Egremont, as they're getting used to playing in that higher division. But Kells have some fine players. David Lowry at the prop forward, he's always one to keep your eyes open for. But an interesting name amongst the team sheet for Egremont Rangers was Brocklebank, who played in he's a guy that has spent many years playing for Egremont. And he's back. So great to sort of see that as well. He is one of the gifted community rugby league players about. Over at Rochdale Mayfield, they celebrated their first win of the season with a 22-14 success over Siddle. This sounded like a cracking game, to be fair. McDade scoring a couple of tries for Mayfield, and this next one, well, I know you've highlighted it. Thatto Heath Crusaders 30, Wathbrow Hornets 20. Outstanding game there.
Yeah. Because do you remember when we sat down and when we did our show from Thatto Heath, and Mike Woods was on about Wathbrow, and he said, it's always a tough game against them. You go down there, it's always tough because it's a long haul to get there, and vice versa. He said, and it's always sort of going to be a good game. That's why I highlighted it last week. But 30 points to 20. That's a nice big score there. I see Mr. Pike's on the scoreboard there too.
He is, yeah. He's gone over for a try. Other scorers for the Crusaders were Saunders, Andy Lee, who's a guy that I know pretty well, Jamie Tracy, Pike and Pinder, with Dickinson kicking 5 goals. For Wathbrow Hornets, they went in front actually. When midway through the first half, Ellison Holgate darted his way through. A couple of tries for Sam Kerwin, and Dawson grabbing their other try with Cull. Walker Taylor adding 2 goals as well in a 30 points to 20 defeat. West Hull, well, they won the Battle of the Wests, so they were up against West Bowling, and they won by 36 points to 6. And great to see Mason Opie Palmer playing again for West Hull. So he was a guy that we saw a couple of years ago playing for the under-18s.
Oh, yeah.
Signed for Hull.
Yeah.
And he's back. He's back playing Community Rugby League. So great to see him back.
Is that Kieran Welburn on for goal kicking?
It is as well, yeah. So he kicked one, and then Wilson, who is the regular kicker, you'll like him, goal kicking prop forward.
Ah, the old style.
Old style, yeah. He had a good game as well, yeah. So 36 points to 6. And there was no game between York, Acorn and Heworth. This was because of Acorn's performance in the Challenge Cup. And drum roll here, please. Drum roll. Okay, it's cheap drum roll. We don't have a sound department. But York Acorn, they were up against Halifax Panthers at the weekend. First half, they gave a really good account of themselves. It was 22 points to 0 in favour of Halifax. Second half, Halifax went at a point a minute. To eventually win by 62 points to 6. But I believe the biggest cheer of the afternoon came when Ant Chilton went over in the 78th minute and converted, which took them off the nil.
Yeah.
So, fair play. I mean, we had a whale of a time, and some of us went close to committing Harry Carey over at York Acorn. But fantastic club.
Yeah.
Really, really pleased for them that they, did this. I mean, Halifax are one of the top championship sides as well, aren't they? So there's no disgrace there at all.
Not at all. And every team knows, the community side knows, and they're realistic about it. They want to join in the Challenge Cup because, again, it's strange actually, because I was on obviously a different programme last night where we were talking about the Challenge Cup.
Okay.
And obviously looking at it now as the Super League teams that have entered, and the question was, the Challenge Cup's died and nobody's interested in the Challenge Cup. And I viewed this in a different way, certainly from this season, having been, and we've been doing the commentary on the Challenge Cup run, and you look at what it means to the clubs.
Am I putting you at odds with these other people that you do this other show with at times?
It's not odds as such. It's that if people understood, where it started from, a lot of those people who go to watch those clubs that we've covered, probably do support either Super League teams or Division 1 teams, from a professional point of view. But they want to see that, the interest where it starts there, right from that grassroots, and you see your club, sort of put it on a great day. The kids, like we said, going out with the players, when the players win it and move on to play, their next opposition, and you're looking at that, and can we? Right, okay, we're up against a semi-professional side. Can we now put this game on? Have we got the capability? They pull out all the strings to do that. All those things. If they weren't bothered, if they didn't care about the Challenge Cup, those things wouldn't happen. Look at the two games we covered at Clockface. The first game we covered, we thought, it's a decent crowd here, isn't it, for this?
Yeah.
And it was. The second one
had an even bigger crowd.
It was an even bigger crowd.
Yeah.
And that is for your community side. So there is that interest there. And that, for me, is where they should really tap into it in some degree. Whether it's, I don't know, maybe it's something, if I know Channel 4 don't do the Super League anymore, so they've not got rugby in that respect. Is it something that they could do where they follow it and do, behind the scenes of what it's like? I mean, I suppose similar to what we've done to a certain degree, and looked at the clubs and looked at, how they go about things. It is there. There's no ifs and buts about it, definitely. And if we've seen that from 3 or 4 clubs that we've covered, the different clubs that we've covered, and we know how many teams there are. Just in the state, so both sides of the Pennines and up in Cumbria, plus all those ones that are, people don't know, they're the hidden ones, as you might say, that are more towards the south that we know that are there. I'm not sure they go out of the way as well. You look at, sort of all the trips that the guys had down to Cornwall. If they weren't bothered about the Challenge Cup, they want to, been able. They just said, okay, we can't do this,
But they found a way, didn't they? They found a way.
Yeah, very much.
I always think there's a lot of negativity around, with regards to rugby league, and sometimes we've got to shout it from the rooftops, and this is where I'll lay it down on the line now. So for Community Rugby League, I'm going to shout it from the rooftops because more people need to get out there. They need to see it. Because it's all right going to your Super League and having a go at a referee and having a go at what goes on there. Come out to your local clubs, see rugby league from the heartbeat perspective, from that embryo point of view. Kids picking up rugby balls at the age of 5 and 6 years of age, of going on, of learning the skills, of learning how to tackle, of learning how to be safe on a rugby league field. It doesn't just start. I mean, one of the things that really, really annoys me is when you read a Super League. You've got me on my high horse now. When you read a Super League preview, and they're usually talking about a youngster that is making a debut, perhaps, and you think that youngster had just popped up and been born in Wigan's Academy, or he'd been brought up and suddenly he's just emerged from Leeds.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
No.
It happens 10 years before. It happens at places like Stanley. It happens at places like West Bowling. It happens at West Hull. It happens at Lee Miners Rangers. It happens at Pilkington Rex.
Exactly. I was just going to say where we're going at the weekend. Yeah.
So we need to not just pay lip service to it. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be used properly. It needs to be reported properly.
And the other thing which I like, don't get me wrong, I mean, the way things have the accessibility to things now is a lot easier in some respects. But you go to these clubs, and from the little ones all the way up to the open age and older, they've all got the club's merchandise on.
Yes.
And we know these things aren't cheap, but they want to be part of that club. They've gone in, they've got the shirt, they've got the polo, all they might have done is just buy, a bob hat from the club or something like that. They don't have to do that, do they?
No.
But they do it. They do it. And that is, you go round any of these clubs and there's lots of that going on, and you think, I love to see that. Like when we went down to Stanley and all the Stanley guys and had their colours on, their black and whites on, and then we moved on to York Acorn, the same again, and you're thinking, do you know what, this is fantastic. If they weren't bothered, then they wouldn't put their hand in the pocket for those types of things, and people do, because they do, as much as, you get all the, sort of merchandise you get from your Super League clubs, etc., who change the kit every year, which I think is wrong, but that's another show or series of shows. But the bottom line is people buy into it, and there's that. It's just such a feel-good sort of attitude wherever you go. There really is.
So again, I implore you, if you somehow happened across our show and we've caught your ears and anything else, then by all means get along to your local community club. They will appreciate the support, and you're gonna really enjoy your game for a couple of quid in, aren't you?
Well, yeah, and as we move into sort of spring and summer, and the evenings getting really nice, trust me, you'll have a great day out. You can have a couple of beers, you can probably get a bite to eat, and you see some cracking rugby league.
Right, talking about cracking rugby league, that was seamless, Steve. Yeah. Division 1, what about this for a result? Clockface minus 21, Stanley 22, and it was decided in the very last minute, a penalty goal from Taylor.
Well, we were talking about our Challenge Cup journey, Parker. That's where it started, wasn't it, at Clockface, and we ended up over at Stanley. We've seen both of these teams, but that's well done to Stanley there.
Cracking result, that one. Also continuing an excellent start to their season, promoted Dewsbury Moor Maroons. They're counting for Crossfields by 34 points to 16. A double of tries scored by Butterfield, who you remember us talking about last week, emerging from the mud to claim the winner against Waterhead. He's this time a bit less mud, scoring a couple of tries. Other tries from Woodcock, Berry, Markland and James, with Walker kicking 5 goals. For the Stoke, well, Clutterbuck, Holiday and Liku went over for tries, with Stanway adding a couple of goals. There was injury issues at Ince Rose Bridge, which saw the game finish 7 minutes early. Kyle Malone is the player that was injured and with a concussion incident, so I'm hoping that he's okay and he's fully recovered. Ince Rose Bridge won the day by 26 points to 12 against Waterhead Warriors. Shaw, Fillingham, Boyd and Holcroft getting the tries. Robbie Valentine kicking 4 goals, Pete Valentine kicking 1. Meanwhile for the Warriors, Morrison and Marcus Geener, who's another young player that is in the England Community Lions setup. He went over for a try with a certain Jensen Hamilton, who we talked about a lot last year for his try scoring prowess. And to be fair, he's not found the line so far this season, but he kicked 2 goals, so 26-12 in that one. First win of the season as well for Lee Miners Rangers on the road at Alton Raiders, winning by 16 points to 12. A real close run affair, that one, with Marco Williamson's goals proving the difference there in that 16-12 victory. And then you've highlighted this one, Skirler 24, Woolston 22, Steve.
Yeah, well, because obviously we were at Crossfields last week and Skirler were there, and I said at the time, after the game had finished, that get Skirler on the dry track, and I think they'll go okay. Woolston obviously had the win the week before at home as well, so that's a good win for Skirler at home, coming off the back of a loss against a team who were, probably buoyed with their first win in that. Winning that division. So yeah, well done, Skirler.
Jack Danby scoring a couple of tries. So he scored a couple of tries the other week, didn't he?
Did,
when we were over at Crossfields. And then it's like your usual suspects. So Oliver's Army, the skipper, going over for a try. I said I'd get that one in.
You did, didn't you?
Gilby also going over for a try and kicking 4 goals as well. Another one of those goal-kicking forwards that we don't see a lot of these days. For Rovers, a couple of tries from Dixon. 1 each for Roper and Harry Files. Goal split
again, Harry Files.
He is between Lawton, who kicked 2, and Leonard, who kicked 1. Meanwhile, Wigan St Pat's are making an excellent start to the season. They defeated Hull Dockers by 38 points to 10. Now, the Dockers actually led 12 points to 4 midway through the first half, thanks to a try and 2 goals from Dan Sudderby and Keane Dearlove touching down. But Pats, they hit back. Connor Taylor crossing for a hat-trick. Phil Glover bagged a brace and Brad Smith chipped in with a try and 5 goals. Dave Thompson also went in for a try as well in a 38 points to 12 success. And in Division 2, there was a resounding win for Barrow Island, defeating Myton Warriors 44 points to 14. And a couple of names that we commented on quite a lot last year amongst the try scorers. So McBain, Dutton Rosconi, who I remember us having chats about, the hooker, doing really well. And then Wright and Ford also crossing for a couple of tries as well. Ford is one of these players. He's huge. He's, if we get to commentate on Barrow Island this year, you've got to look out for Ford playing either second row or centre. He's outstanding. A really, really good player. He's crossed for 2 tries. And then my old mate Sam Jones kicking 6 goals as well for Barrow Island. For Myton Warriors, Liddell, the 2 Liddells getting over. Ward going over for a try and Fox adding the goal. You've highlighted this next game, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because where we're going at the weekend at Pilks, just have a look at how they're going on. And they were up against Millham. And it was Millham 22, Pilks 12. Am I right? Millham were they promoted last season?
They were promoted, yeah. You're just rubbing that in, aren't you? Because they beat Lee East in the final of Division 3 last year.
That's correct,
yeah. I mean, to be fair, they've been knocking around in that Division 3 for a few years now, so it's great that they're on the rise. But you're right, they got promoted. Obviously, Pilkington Rex got relegated from Division 1.
It's just got to be careful, I think, Pilks Rex, that they don't fall into that same spiral that they have done over the last 2 years. I mean, obviously, they're up against Oldham St Anne's this weekend, another promoted team, fortunately they're at home, so hopefully their eye will be on the ball little bit better. I'm sure they'll say they're on a better track in that respect. But it's just. And I know it's early doors, and people say it's a long season, and it is. But as I say, I mean, I go on. You know how many times I go on about momentum, about it working both ways and not just one. And you just got to be careful.
So, couple of interesting try scorers amongst this Millon lot, by the way. Josh Blinkhorn. Going over for a try. He's another of the lads that is in the Community Lions under-19s. Connor Terrell going over for a try, who represented Scotland. He's played professionally for Barrow and a couple of other clubs as well. And Postlethwaite, my old mate who went on tour with Fiji a few years ago. Great to see him again representing Millen with great aplomb, scoring a try and 3 goals. Rex scoring tries through Key and Martin with Liptrot adding a couple of goals. That's easy for me to say, isn't it?
Say that, yeah.
Meanwhile, the close games continue for Normanton Knights and Dewsbury Celtic, 10-all in this one. So Knights having tries from Banwell and Davy. Jacob Crossland scoring the lone goal. Yarrow going in for a couple of tries for Dewsbury Celtic. Cummins adding the goal there. And then you mentioned about Oldham St Anne's. They got the first win of the campaign as well against Wigan St Jude's. This is a bit of a statement win for me.
I agree with it.
Really, really good. So Etchells, Pogson and Zaffio scoring tries for St Anne's. Pogson kicking 3 goals, Rose with the other. And then Jude's responding with tries of their own through Turner and Dugdale. We'll hear a little bit more about that game in just a little while. But yeah, great win that, I think, for Oldham St Anne's. A good win as well for Saddleworth Rangers, defeating another promoted side, Ellenborough Rangers, by 36 points to 24. That sounds like a really, really entertaining game, that one. So Malden, Wilson, Dodd, Howe, Charles and Dalloway scoring for Saddleworth, with McManus kicking 6 goals. Meanwhile for Elborough, Taylor, Wilson, Okasini and Holborn scoring the tries. Again, good to see Holborn back out on the field. He's had more than his first year of injury where he's over the last couple of seasons. Again, a former Barlow tourist as well, so great to see him back on the field. Winter kicking 4 goals as well. And in a Dewsbury derby, Shawcross Sharks accounted for Thornhill Trojans by 36 points to 12. Of course they did. I was nowhere near Shawcross. So yeah, French grabbing a hat-trick of tries for the Sharks. Winrow, Stevenson and Ashen scoring 2. Goals going the way of that man Tomlinson with 4 to his name. Meanwhile, a certain Joel Gibson scored a try and 2 goals for Thornhill Trojans. Ratcliffe grabbing the other, but it was too much for them on the day, with Shawcross winning 36 points to 12. In Division 3, we've already told you about what happened between Bentley and Hensingham, but just to recap, Bentley 10, Hensingham 34. You've earmarked this one as well, Dissington 22, Milford 0.
For me, that's the result of the day, I think. I think keeping Milford to 0 and Dissington, sort of... just starting to make a statement, I think. So James Friel scored the Cumbrians' only first half try, and in the second half Liam Friel, Cian Worthington and Jack Spate went over, with Scott George booting 3 goals. Got to give a big mention here to Joe Tharm. He was the impressive prop forward as far as Milford were concerned, but they didn't trouble the scorers on that day, and tell you what, sounds like you got to be a good team to score against Dissington, doesn't it? Yeah.
They won 6 points to 0 last week.
Yeah.
They've won 22-0 this week.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if they keep not conceding anything, they're going to get promoted, aren't they?
But at the end of that, we know, Parky, what these divisions are like, and how important points difference is at the end of the season. So that could be huge, those 2 games.
Now, some would also tip Driglington as being a little bit of an outside bet in this competition. And when you look at it, Sam Thornton grabbed a hat-trick for Drigg as they went 33-0 up at home against Lee East before Lee East finally responded. So Joe Sheldon also bagged a couple of tries in that one. Barnes and Hallis going over for Driglington to complete their try scorers. Interesting name, he's back with Driglington. We spoke to him. I think it was either at the start of last year or in the year before. So it was Joe Sanderson. who went and he signed for Hunslet, and he was sort of heading there, but he's back at Driglington. Great re-signing. Him and his brother Michael are two Driglington stalwarts, to be fair. He scored 5 goals and kicked an important drop goal, did Joe Sanderson. For East, they scored all their points in the final quarter. Lee, Reader and Graney going over for tries. Holland kicking 2 goals, Reader kicking 1. And in the other outstanding result of the day on Saturday, East Leeds 16, Seaton Rangers 6. That's a hard-fought win, that, for East Leeds. And I don't know about you, but I'd be buoyed at that if I was Seaton Rangers, because they had a terrible year last year.
Yeah, they did.
So they went close to getting promoted the previous year. They're first in the National Conference League. And then last year they went through the horrors. Now, part of that was down to the fact that about 6 of their players ended up signing professionally, as we've spoke about at other times on this show. But yeah, 16 points to 6. There's nothing detrimental about that at all. That sounds like a good old-fashioned rugby league game, that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, because from an East Leeds point of view, they're sort of just keeping the ship steady, aren't they?
They are.
Their only downside, obviously, they start off on a points deduction, don't they?
They have, so I think they've reached parity now.
Yeah.
So if I remember rightly, I think they either got deducted 2 or 4 points.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be amended on some table somewhere, so I'll have a bit more of a look at it next time out, for the show next week. But yeah, I think Rob Roberts has got to be pleased with how things going there, and it sounds like, as you said, there's a steady ship that's emerging out of the ravages of what happened last year.
Yeah, because I think we said this for every week when we speak about East Leeds, because we were that impressed with them when we saw them in that final that we were buoyed to see how they would kick on, and from one thing or another it didn't. So hopefully, we can see possibly what was meant to be a couple of seasons ago.
So we've got the upcoming fixtures to come, but I want to preview the game that we have picked for our coverage at the weekend. So Pilkington Rex at home against Oldham St Anne's. And earlier this week, I've chatted with both camps. So first of all, we're going to hear from Neil Cherryholme. He's representing Oldham St Anne's, the visitors.
Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
So here we are once again, the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. Looking forward to our next live fixture that we're going to be bringing via our Mixlr channel. It's going to be over at Pilkington Rex this coming weekend. It's Division 2 action. Pilkington Rex hosting Oldham St Anne's, who got promoted at the end of last season. I'm delighted to be joined once more by Neil Cherryholme. Neil, we've got to stop meeting like this, mate.
I know, yeah. New season, get to talk again about the game, but yeah, it's good to speak to you, Dave.
Yeah, really looking forward to this chat. Actually, I wanted to start off because you've had 2 games so far in the new division. How are you finding it so far?
Yeah, it's been good. The first week we went to Celtic, and then if you looked across the fixtures in the whole conference, it was a bit of a washout with the weather, and it was hard to take a lot from it, probably for both sides, other than effort. Effort was, evident from both sides, but in terms of what we'd worked on, it was really difficult. By half time, it was pretty much, your flippers on and, do your best. So, it was tough, but we felt that we matched that game, and we saw that we were very ready for that league, but obviously didn't get the win on the day. And then this week was, better pitch, we managed to do things that we'd worked on, and it showed to lads that we'd have some tough games. Definitely showed that, but it also showed that we're good enough for that league if we turn up. It was close, really close on Saturday, to be fair. I think we snuck it big 12, and it probably was a 4-point game. It was tight. But yeah, it's good for lads, and we spoke about really wanting that win. We normally talk performance, let's play well and enjoy it, and then it normally comes, but we actually really spoke about getting a win. Start a new season in a new league, you need that win. So yeah, it was really good for us, that.
I suppose that means you can kick on, doesn't it? Once you get that first win, and that things are working then.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't. we do speak about winning, like I say, but we want to be there and enjoy it. But you enjoy winning better. So, and then you come into new league, you go 4 games, without a win. We don't really know what Pilks are like, and Shawcross we play quite, a few times a year before. We know they're good. So, talking 4 games, it could be, no wins. So to get that, it shows that we can go next week and get it. And Shawcross a week after, it's a completely different ball game. So yeah, it's really important we got that win early on.
And to be fair as well, the 2 sides that you played, they've been in and around that playoff picture, haven't they? I think St Jude's made the playoffs last season, and Dewsbury Celtic only just missed out.
Yeah, and you could see that. We spoke on Simons. I think they had a couple out, but they were tough. They were proper like rugby league heartland clubs. Whoever they brought in, a few like a young kid, but he just stepped straight in. And yeah, they were tough. They knew what they were doing. Played sort of consistent for long periods. We didn't feel probably neither team really troubled at times. We were definitely finding the feet, but you could tell that one wasn't ever going to run away with that, and it was tight. And we just got on top in second half actually for a period, and then we managed to sneak a couple of tries.
And looking at it, we spoke last season, didn't we, about the impact that Richard Pogson had made since he sort of like switched to the club. And it sounded like his boot was well needed at the weekend with 3 goals, and he scored a try as well, didn't he? And I don't want to make it all about one person, of course, because I know it's a team sport, and I know everybody will have played their part in victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and with Poggy's really important for us as a team, and it's really good to have him. He's definitely someone who brings a lot of leadership out of of himself, but then puts that onto others. And we missed it. He didn't play the first week, and he was important to have him back. Someone like Poggy in that pivotal position at halfback after losing a couple of halfbacks makes him even more important. And he did take it on him a little bit halfway through that second half going. His try wasn't a typical halfback; it was more like a front rower try.
Okay.
Carried the ball straight over, sort of thing. He just and there was some really big performances from other players showing, a few stepping up. He actually got a few injuries the week before from key players, and it was good to see a few stepping up. And even though we've lost a couple, we had a really strong depth Saturday again. So I think we had 5 or 6 out, and we're still really strong.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to ask you as well, sort of like how strong is this, the best team that Oldham St Anne's could put out?
I mean, I think, like I say, I think we had at least, we've got 5 definite lads who are in and around sort of training and who could play, and then probably 3 long-term injuries that we're hopefully get back, mid-season, and then. Obviously, we're sort of transitioning from the end of last season where we've had a couple of halfbacks who've not playing for us at the moment. So, there's a bit of a transition period. But, yeah, we were strong, but we had, like I say, 4 players who probably would definitely first team, as 4 or 5 were definitely first team who were unavailable. And we lost the front row early on with quite a bad cut to his eye. So, we played, if it was 16, I know it didn't overly matter, but he went early. So, yeah, it was good strength and depth performance that we're consistent with it, yeah.
Sounds like character building so far, that type of stuff as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if I spoke to it when we spoke last time. I was saying one of our things is we could be really good, and we were sort of putting some decent scores on some teams, and then when it was tight, we were playing well, but not having quite enough mental toughness to right, it's tight now, it's getting hard. What we're going to do, and it was good. I mean, obviously the first game didn't come through, but yesterday was one of those. Saturday was one of those where it could have gone probably either way at a point, and. A couple of weak carries or drop balls, and we'd have been right under it. So it was good to actually sneak. We didn't sneak it. I mean, we deserved a win. Yeah. But what I mean is, it were tight, and it wasn't. We couldn't have had loads of complaints if we hadn't quite won. So it was good to get that close win.
I mean, I've spoken to people in the past, and it's always them close wins which are the ones that really count, and the satisfying ones come at the end of the season, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we were stood before the game and saw both teams warm up, and it's like you could just tell they were ready to play, and they're a team that's well established, and it's absolutely no sort of disrespect to the teams we played previously, but those teams develop in Division 3 are developing some. So when you get to this Division 2, it just feels like you probably could be playing Division 1 side in 1 week. That level, it seems that really consistent where you're going to have to turn up to win, and you're not going to get away with it by either one player and a standout performance or all your players having the low. You probably have to be 8, 9 out of 10 to get that win.
I think that's a really good point, actually, because between divisions 1 and 2, they're always the eye-catching divisions for me because of the amount of change that can happen from one season to the next. Because generally you get 3 teams coming down, 3 teams going up, don't you? So that's like it's half your league virtually, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, it's just a breath of fresh air for us as a club, and even me coaching to go to new places. Go to Pilks on Saturday, something different that they've not been for a couple of years, and it just sparks you up a little bit. And like I say, these clubs with good histories, it's where you want to play, and like I say, it's probably good for them. Entertaining Oldham fans, something different. Probably a bit of an unknown, not played for a while, but yeah, I'm sure Saturday'll be another close, tight, good game. I
was going to ask what you knew of Pilks, because I mean, over the last couple of years, they've gone from being a Premier Division side to being in Division 2 this time round, and that can sometimes happen, can't it? If players are being snapped up or moving on or injuries crop up, it can quickly manifest itself, can't it?
Yeah, and like we said, it's the difficult leagues, and you talk about in other sports, sort of. Playing amateur is you're an amateur, but the lads there are so close to being. Some of them could play semi-pro either with different work commitments or commitment to the game. But the skill level of a lot of players in those divisions, Prem 1, 2 are really good. And they lose a few. They have a set that 5, 6 get old and leave. Yeah, it can just leave you different. I mean, or they could be regrouping and they have 10 back this week. You just never know, do you? So it's really difficult to prep on any team, as they're probably thinking about us. But it's a bit of an old one, but you just try and sort out what you've got. It's really difficult to really prep what the other teams will be providing. And I mean, other than normally quite stronger at home, you find in the Conference League.
I suppose that's the beauty of community sport, isn't it? You don't know what you're going to get from week to week, really.
No, I mean, and then you sort of like you're trying to build like a professional nature of the club, and like we all train. But there are just weeks where there's a wedding, someone's on a stag do, and it just happens, and it's just part of it. And we've had a lad this last couple of weeks, not really stepped in. He's trained hard all year, and he played a few last season as well. But Tinny he's shown that he's definitely ready to play, and that you get those opportunities when that. Your team changes, so yeah, there's only a benefit for it. At times you're like, and if you never give those people opportunities, and you never know what they can do or they improve. So yeah, you get change all the time, as I'm sure Pilks will be thinking. They might have 5 back or 5 off, but yeah, it just is part of the sport.
I mean, we were over at for our previous game that we covered. We were over at Bentley at the weekend as they hosted Hensingham, and Hensingham had like 4 or 5 teenagers in the side. Have you got some young players as well that you're also looking to push through, and maybe they'll get their opportunity this year?
Yeah, we've got a couple. We're a bit of in a different period where, so we've called it. It's not a holding period, but we want to get a decision and stay in it because we've had a bit of trouble with. I think it's now 17, 18. So we're sort of developing that. So it's not. The young end of our sort of first and second team is not that young. It's you're talking 23ish. So the hope is in the next 2 years we've got some of the 16s that have we've actually started doing a bit of training with. We get 2 or 3 of them playing seconds, and then 2 or 3 playing first. So yeah, at the moment we've got a couple of younger lads, but we are really hoping that our 16s really develop into a team that want to play for for the first team. So yeah, that's that long term. 1 to 2, 3 year.
Yeah. So, I mean, that still sounds like it could be potentially very, very interesting for you. Certainly we've spoken to other clubs that have I suppose, had the benefit of being able to keep those younger sides together, and as a result, they're reaping the rewards now. I'm thinking Clockface, for example, that also are in perhaps an enviable position where they had a really good 18s last year, and there's about 4 or 5 of those lads that have pushed straight up into the first team. If you can get that type of I hate to use the term production line, but I'm going to use it anyway. But if you can get that type of thing going, it really builds you up, doesn't it, for future success? Yeah,
and it's a really tough balance of you have a 16s that's flying and 10 of them get signed, then your 18s there's a detriment to that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of as a coach and like a sort of philosophy at the club is we'd be really proud if we got sort of 5 lads who've gone through all the system at St Anne's, played real St Anne's lads, and then they make it second team, first team, and then you never know where they go from there. But yeah, it's a good thing when you see lads come through. It's nice. And you see a lad there's a few lads who've got at the moment who are, gosh, no, I'd say 22, 23, who've really trained hard for the last 18 months, and you can see the improvements in them. So when we get sort of this 16s who will become like the 17s, 18s next year, I'm sure they'll make the same progress if they've got that same commitment. So yeah, that's a real goal for us as a sort of a club.
Now, I always look for names that will be, fantastic to roll off the tongue when I'm commentating on a game. and your centre, Matteo Zaffino, I tell you what, that's a cracker, a jack of a name, that.
He does. There's a few names kicking about in the group, which I might not be able to repeat, but yeah, you might have to catch it before the game. But yeah, there's a few names that he gets called as Matteo, yeah.
What's he like as a lad? Has he been down at the club?
Yeah, he's good. He's new to us.
Okay.
He's new to us. He's just come from his. We've got this group who joined last year, and they've actually the connections they've all played at uni. I think most of them. So he's come back, with the go to play a couple of years, play with the friends that he's played with before. So yeah, he's been here. He's had a lot of car troubles. I don't know if it's true or not, but he's missed a few training sessions. But yeah, when he's here, he's been great, and he started well for us. He feels like Saturday was harder ground, sort of got his game going. His D was good, and he linked up well with that left side on Saturday. It looked like it's something we can definitely develop.
And other guys that have done particularly well for you over recent seasons have been like a Jack Etchells and Callum Cashion, who are never far away from try scoring feats, are they?
No, absolutely not. I know when we get our attack sort of sorted, I'm sure they'll be back up there. We've got Jack's played a lot of centre last year, but he's having to do a bit of centre in the wing, which is we're not sure which full preferred positions, but he's absolutely rapid. So and he really developed on Saturday from sort of just being that winger, doing a few carries to he really got us forward on Saturday. He's they both standouts for us, especially when they both carry out of the backfield and then score the tries on the end of that. As they can be dangerous for us.
Neil, I'm really looking forward to this game. From the sounds of it, it sounds like you guys are going to be ready as well.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I'm still waiting for a few availabilities. You never know what I've got. So we talk about Team Monday, then it changes by Tuesday dinner. So we really look forward to that sort of consistent, relentless nature of the conference. This too, where you're going week in, week out. You've got a tough and all. Yeah, so it's a challenge that we've set like last year's. Like this is what we want, and the lads are definitely ready. I'm sure Saturday, hopefully we're ready to put a decent performance in. And again, performance, enjoy it, and then hopefully we get that win.
And let's be honest as well, St Anne's have been building and building for this for a few seasons now, haven't they? So you've earned it. You've earned it the hard way. So you've got to grab it with both hands, haven't you? This opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to you last about the hard work that's been done behind the scenes, just before and just after COVID, and then I think it's took a lot of work from a lot of people, and so since I've been there, it felt like they've had this stronger base, and the lads have all been ready. I mean, I liked since last time, and I'm not sure a lot of conference coaches said the same, but the lads at St Anne's graft. They come, they work hard, and it's real good. So yeah, hopefully that sends us up for the season. And you just never know. I mean, don't sound negative, but we've been out in that Division 3 for a couple of years. We want to stay in Division 2, but we want to win every game. That's especially I want to win every game. So see where that takes us, and you never know. By the end, mid-season, you go right. Well, what's our new target? Is it playoffs? Is it what? It'll be hard to judge. And looking at a few results, it'll be nip and tuck. It looks like, especially like with Celtic drawing it. I think it was Normanton and stuff like that. So I think there'll be a few, people taking points off each other.
Yeah, definitely twisty and turny. Neil, I look forward to having a catch up with you after the game, and go well at the weekend.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. All right, see you later.
Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
So once again, we're here, we're building for Saturday, and I'm delighted to say that we're going to be on the road again. We're going over to Pilkington Rex this coming Saturday, gladly hosting their game against Oldham St Anne's. On the other end of the line, I've got Ste Edgerton. How are you doing, Ste? You okay, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Parky, yourself?
Really good, really good. Really looking forward to this one, actually. And we were just saying before we press the record button that it's a bit of a regroup, I suppose, for yourselves. And, Oldham St Anne's, they've finally escaped that third division, and they're starting to look up the leagues, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So like you said, last year was a bit of a drop and a bit of a shock, really, because we were close in some games, and the year before that was similar, but missing out on that one space and Featherstone dropping out on that put us back into starting ourselves in the second division here, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So 2 games into the new season, how's it gone for Pilks so far?
Well, it's one of them, really. When we started off, we had a really good pre-season. Some things have gone all right, the structures, but obviously some games got away in others in the second half. So like if you take last week's game, it was 6-all half-time. And then a couple of things changed, just a few decisions, like we got a sin bin early on, and then we got a secondary sin bin, and then they just run away with the game. But they were a lot smarter than us just on that day. But there's lots of potential inside, and there's a lot of young players coming from the 18s and previously working their way up.
I mean, that's the encouraging thing, isn't it? Because we've talked in the past, on the show about teams go through spells of transition. There's a time where if you can keep a group of players together for 5 or 6 years, you usually have a lot of success off the back of it. But you kind of like look at it and you're almost a victim of your own success, aren't you? When you look at the likes of Owen Abel's gone off into the pro game, you've got, one of your previous coaches is now coaching at Salford. So this is sort of like where you've come from, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like you'd say, but coaching McKurt back in the day when we were doing it, was starting off when we first started. We were fortunate you had the 18s that come up with myself and like John. So we had a mixture of like probably 7 to 9 players that come through core, and you'll remember some of the names in that team. You had Jamie coming up, you had Ryan Rogers, you had Greg Smith, etc.
Yeah.
And they were there as like a core of the team, along with Mark Bridie and people like and the pro fringes when they were coming up. So that's where you had that escalation up to the league, because you had that standard, and that's when you had the good cut runs. But now when you've got the likes of Owen Abel move in, you've got like Simo, who worked last year with us, and he's gone work coaching at North Wales Crusaders and the England squad. So you can see the coaching setup's decent, and then the players coming through actually stepping up, and they're doing the rep rugby as well.
Yeah. And it can sometimes take a bit of time, can't it, to sort of settle again, And the encouraging thing for me is that despite everything, and some people might just look at first team, but I always like to look at it a bit deeper. You've got the full production line, haven't you? You've got players that are coming through. The future, longer term, is fantastic for Pilks.
It's massive in a setup, yeah. Cause I think technically we're probably the third biggest club in the country now.
Yeah,
we're well over 500 members just playing, and then it's over 100 just active volunteers. So it's like having a second job at one point when you're looking at it, because obviously I'm involved like with a committee and alongside the open age side as well.
Yeah. I mean, 100 volunteers. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's and that's all without us technically having our own club, because we build on that. It's all about being the family orientation. We're not going out doing players. It's organic, and we started from the 7s all the way up. So some teams have got three active teams, which when you get to that 11 stage, and when they're building up from there and they start splitting off, that's when you see your fruition and filling every gap.
And also as well from a wider rugby league point of view, the amount of young girls that are now pulling on Pilk shirts and going representing the club is must be something that you're immensely proud of.
Oh no, it's huge, because we only started like a couple of years ago, and like I said, just Julie's got recognition just off Saints this last week or two, just for the work she's done in setting that up. And then with the support there, it's always something we wanted to grow, because we've done it for the juniors, then we've trying to grow the girls' game, not just jumping on the bandwagon. We just want to give that opportunity where girls have to stop after a certain age, and then they can carry on growing with the teams.
Yeah. So if we look back at the first team that you've got at the moment, you mentioned about a number of players that are starting to come through. Who are some of these guys that are starting to make a name for themselves? Yeah,
well, you've got some that's come back. You've got like Alex Fitzhenry come to, and then you've got obviously Scott Simmons has come across now back from Oral with his dad playing, so he's coming through into the team. Then you've got some of the younger lads who's stepping up, like a Callum Derrick and that from 18s. You had another couple that's just top of my head, that's just leaving me in a moment because I'm just watching training at the same time. So that's what you get at the time. But generally the 18s that's come up from there, they're stepping and playing in between both. So last year we went from being 4 players in the 18s to like nearly 22 players, and they've kind of stayed through, coming through now. So you got like Callum Lyon and all that playing in there on the wing, and the backs realistically.
I mean that's really good, isn't it? That's testament to what you've got going on. I mean, having like down at the club, you now host North Wales training at times, don't you?
We do the England camps as well, because all our physios are in the England setup as well. Yeah. So it's not like the setup's not actually there. It's just making sure we give the opportunity to the right people to develop.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what it's about for us, yeah. And if that come with it, we've given the opportunity.
And, I know we're talking at other ends of the National Conference League, but we had the pleasure of covering Hensingham last week. Yeah. And Hensingham are in a similar sort of position where they're now starting to blood some of these younger players, lads that are also in representative squads and, are going for England honours and things like that, So it really does bode well. I know that a lot of people have turned round and they'll be, quite critical and saying that rugby league is dying to a certain extent. And there is an argument to be had with that, obviously, but I think from what you're saying, it'll soon be flourishing again up at Pilks, and in fact, that's never gone away, has it?
No, it's not. I think that there's 2 things you've got to look at, and we've spoke at depth at times on this anyway. You've got the game's actually growing because of some rugby from the junior level. Mm-hmm. Open age, the 18s upwards is where you've got to watch it because of the distractions. Family commitments, work commitments come in. The natural things that's outside it, but from the game growing, the actual amateur game's not in that bad a stance. It's just the support that's needed from the RFL to keep it going. Because if you're in the NCL, as you know, it's not cheap to travel.
No.
That's a little thing you've got to watch out for. And obviously, go on.
I was going to say, and there's a lot of travelling involved for yourselves this year, isn't there? In that
this
division?
Year compared to others, yeah.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of Cumbria bit as well, to be fair. So,
I'm thinking you've already done a Millham trip, haven't you? And you've got
to be fair, nice from the Millham one, but yeah.
Oh, it's a cracking venue, isn't it, Millham? I have to admit, I love going up there myself. Really,
the drive's a bit ropey on that road, but yeah, Millham's a nice ground, yeah.
Yeah, because you kind of turn off and think, where's this going? Because you're going up a hill, aren't you? And it's weavy and it's windy, and you're then going up and down, and you're thinking, I'm glad I had something for my breakfast and that I won't see it again, a type of thing.
Exactly.
But yeah, and I suppose as well from a Pilks point of view, this season you'll be getting to go to some grounds where you've either not been or not been for a long time.
No, it was, and that was like the things that we liked last year. Like if you picture West Bowling as well, and you've got the new grounds that we're coming to, or clubs we've not seen. It's good just to put like an old face to it. So Pilks being as old as we are as well, it's amazing how many people you still see who recognise us from back in the 70s and 80s when we had the big cup runs and that, and they come round and see us.
Yeah, I mean those times were fantastic, weren't they? Barla Cup runs, and it's a shame really what's happened regarding that competition now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The thing is, like you said, the National Conference basically makes that, in my world, it deflates a little bit, so it's not got the same value, which is a shame, because that's what it was based on, because you had the opportunity to play teams you couldn't in the past.
Yeah. And
most of the teams that dropped out of that couldn't afford to travel, and that's why the NCL's kind of built it back up, haven't they, over the years?
Yeah. I mean, looking at sort of like Oldham St Anne's, are you aware of any of the players? Do you know what they're about at all?
I've not looked into too much, but I try not to from a personal point of view until the season starts, because you don't know what's coming back, who they've transitioned to, as in like what people's been signed. But I know they've had a good run from talking to people, and last year they were quite really competitive. So I'm presuming the same thing. We're expecting a tough game when they come down here, and obviously there's 2 different setups when you go pitch-wise. One of what it's like down where Ruskin driving, and then when you're down at Oldham, it's completely different depending on what the weather's like,
Well, that is true, isn't it? And certainly what we've seen over the first couple of weeks of National Conference League, we've seen weather-affected games, haven't we? You must be pleased that you've got that facility over at Ruskin.
It gives a consistency, doesn't it? That's the thing. But like I said, when you come here, it's just a completely different setup because you got the level field, haven't you? But like going back to the team that's come in, all we can do is play what's in front of us and play our own game, because I'm very much of that ilk where the team focus on what they can control and win the small battles first.
Yeah. So I guess I'm wanting to come at it as well from a slightly different angle, and sort of moving forward. What would be a successful season for Pilks, sort of from a whole club point of view?
For the first team, what we want to do, we want to get into that playoffs and then achieve getting back up, which is obvious for everyone's first aim. First in 100% the playoff position, then we go the ride our luck, and then for the rest of the club, we just want to build on the success we've got, keeping the teams consistent. If you think last year we had quite good cup runs with our junior sections, our under 13s basically did a clean sweep. Well, under 12, did a clean sweep. I think there was only Thatcher who did a better sweep than us in town, because they did a national cup, but we complained at the 12th.
Okay, because you get every other year, don't you, at that age group,
So then you've got the junior just building up, because we've got cups all the way through, and we're very lucky that we've got that, because we helped that grow, and just keeping that numbers going as much as we had 500 plus members. We want to continue seeing that grow, and then the girls' game especially. That's where we want to try and build on that side. So it's making sure we've got people on the field enjoying themselves, and especially where we're set as a demographic and stuff like that, we just want to give the best opportunity to people to progress, enjoy themselves, and get as high a level they can, representative.
I mean, you're so well placed as well, aren't you? You know, virtually just on the edge of the East Lancs Road, you know, for people getting to it. And then, you know, you're quite central, aren't you, to like St Helens Town Centre? You're not
it's a little hotbed of the Northwest, is it, when you look at it, if you think. But where we are, we're literally, you can get to 62 or East Lancs, and it's not like we're miles away. And like I said, parking's easy for us and all that. We've got plenty of it. We're in such a big camp of what we are. So...
I mean, like I'm really looking forward to the game on Saturday. To be fair, it sounds like you're ready for it as well. And
we can hear him in the background training,
I can hear the lads in the background, so they sound like they're going to be ready for it come Saturday as well.
Yeah, so that's it. Like I said, just getting over a few knocks on the weekend and travel, but you can hear them, they're on the pads already doing the run-throughs and stuff like that. So they're all up for it, and it's just getting the communication and positioning right.
And I think as well, that home advantage could really count, couldn't it?
Well, that's what I'm hoping, because we should have advantage in knowing the pitch and advantage in seeing how we play it, and hopefully play our game plan and not let people influence it. But like, it just depends how they'll turn up. I'm sure they'll come up and turn up and try and start hard and fast. But that's for us to adapt to and just control, and then see what work us from there.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be fantastic, mate. Really looking forward to coming down on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to having a chat with you on the day, mate.
No, same to you, mate. It's always good catch up, and good to see the Oldham guys again as well.
Great to hear from both people though, wasn't it? So first of all, we heard from Neil Cherryholme, and then we heard from Ste Edgerton from a Pilkington Rex point of view. Contrasting thoughts as well, I feel.
Yeah, and I think that shows from what we were saying about from one team being promoted and moving up into a division, and obviously, you know, so that Boyd and by how they've got and Pilks being a bit on edge, that, you know, the tumbling dice effect that's happened over the last couple of seasons.
I mean, I was keen to point out that there's a lot more that happens at a community club than just what happens at first team level. So, you know, the development that's going on there with the girls' sides that they have at Pilks, and the younger players that are coming through. And like we said earlier in the show with Hensingham and with Bentley, young players coming through into first teams. If you get a clutch of young players together and they're willing to stick it out, and they stay for 5, 6, 7 years, you've got something really positive you can build on there, haven't you?
Well, it's the old thing where if you end up with that mateship, don't you? And I mean, a lot of sort of teams will tell you about that. If you can get that together and you enjoy playing the game, and then once you're playing competitively and you hopefully winning with your mates, makes it even better. But yeah, you just know each other. You're more instinctive, rather than. Don't get me wrong. People coming in, you need people come in and help. But if you grew up together, you know everybody's moves because you've started knowing how each other plays from an early age. I mean, it's just simple evolution in that respect, isn't it?
And if we look very, very quickly at Oldham St Anne's, Neil was telling us about a slightly different tale there, how they've had issues with holding on to younger age group teams and players pushing forward. I've seen this happen myself, where you look like you've got a conveyor belt of players ready to step up, and then nobody does.
That's right.
And, things happen, players move on, they might go into scholarship systems, they might never come back. Which again is another show of its own, and another one of my soapbox specials. We could do Parky's soapbox specials, couldn't we, this season?
And the thing is, the amount of clubs we've been around since we've been doing this show, and it's a recurring theme. So
it is.
You get to 18s, 16 to 18s, and that age group, they can either go away for various different reasons, like you say, you can go to academies, scholarships, all those types of things. But there's a lot of these guys are maturing. They're coming to that age where, so they've got other things on the mind. There's exams and everything at school as well. There's lots of other things in and around there.
As I always look for names that might pose issues for commentary.
Yeah.
So, Pilks have a player called Palladino.
Oh, yeah, I know the Palladinos.
Yes. And Oldham St Anne's have a player called Zaffio. He scored a try in the previous week. Yeah, he's pretty new to the club. Played at university, as Neil was describing, and he's decided to come along and play with some of his mates again. Yeah. So fantastic. It's great when players become involved yet again, isn't it, in rugby league? Yeah. And they find a way back. Really, really encouraging. So, at risk of sounding like Charlie FM, that'll be coming in your ears on Saturday from 2:10 over on our Mixlr channel. If you're wondering what we're talking about, we have a live broadcast channel which we do all our games from this season. If you want to check us out at 13 Pro-Am RL, and that'll tell you the details and give you the link that you need.
Yeah. Either that, just follow us on X, or formerly known as Twitter, don't forget, and you'll see all our notifications that we put out on there. We'll put links to where it will take you straight through as well.
Right, let's have a look over the rest of the fixtures. So in the Premier Division, we've got Egremont at home to Wharfbrow Hornets. Local derby.
Yeah, I'll just get my fixtures, get my clipboard.
We've also got West Hull hosting Heworth. That's actually been switched around. I think originally it was going to be Heworth that were hosting, but again they've had a discussion, and it's going to be the Johnny Whiteley Park, which plays venue for that one. Hunslet up against Thatto Heath Crusaders. You've earmarked that one, Steve.
Yeah, because again, much the same as when Thatto Heath played Wharfbrow. I mean, because these teams have been in the Premiership for quite a bit of time now, you always know there's going to be good games. Thatto Heath, having a good start to the season in the sense of, and I know last week, the week before last was sort of a little bit tricky, but sort of to come home and then sort of get a result against Wharfbrow, because obviously we've seen Wharfbrow as well. It'd be difficult. It's always difficult going up to Hunslet. Any team goes to Hunslet and are going to struggle. But do you know what I mean? Thatto Heath won't fear things. They never do in that sort of sense.
Another quick word against not against Hunslet, about Hunslet, is they've posted a really nice post on their social media over the last couple of days, praising the guys that came in and have revamped their dressing rooms.
Yeah, I saw that.
Have you seen the dressing
really
rooms
nice,
with the way they're painted up?
Yeah,
They look fantastic, to be honest.
The only thing wrong, Park, the numbers over the hooks for the shirts apparently don't match the numbers of the shirts that they put up.
I
think it's a commentator's nightmare.
Okay, we've had a few of those. We're about to have a few more between now and the end of the season, in fairness. Lock Lane there at home to Rochdale Mayfield. Siddle travel over to West Bowling. Now that's going to be an interesting tie as far as I'm concerned. And York Acorn there hosting Kells. In Division 1, we've got a Warrington derby. Crossfields against Woolston.
Do you know what? If we weren't at Pilks, that's where I would be watching that one, because it'll be an absolute cracker. There's no effort, because don't forget they've got history.
Yeah.
And as they said, there's not many miles between the grounds either.
I'm picking out another local derby a little bit further down the list, but we've got Hull Dockers hosting Ulton Raiders. Ince Rose Bridge at home against Lee Miners Rangers as well. I think that could be set to be a cracker as well. Skirler, they're hosting Wigan St Pat's. Dewsbury Moor Maroons, they'll get a stern test over at Stanningley. I'm looking forward to getting the team sheet for that one, to be honest. While Waterhead Warriors, they have a chance to get their season up and running at home to Clockface Miners. In Division 2, Dewsbury Celtic host Barrow Island. Myton Warriors, they're hosting Millom. Saddleworth Rangers make the short hop over the Pennines to take on Normanton Knights. There's our game, of course, Pilkington Rex against Oldham St Anne's, that you'll be able to listen to all the action. Meanwhile, Shawcross Sharks are up against promoted Ellenborough Rangers, and Thornhill Trojans, they hop over to play at Wigan St Jude's. In Division 3, we've got Beverley up against Bentley, Driglington up against Dissington, Featherstone up against East Leeds. Someone got that wrong there. We've had B up against B, D up against D.
Just looking at that.
Featherstone Lions up against East Leeds. It's where it all falls apart there. And Seaton Rangers hosting Hensingham.
That'll be a good one. That will be a good one. Watching Hensingham, sort of the way they played, and obviously coach won't have to go too far this time.
No, definitely not. Tell you what, I've enjoyed the show, Steve.
As always, mate. As always, looking forward to the weekend. As I say, it's short drawing. It's a place I know very well. In fact, I was there yesterday, to be honest. We were doing the other show that we do for the lads and from St Helens. And Pilks is a cracking ground. We're up there regular as clockwork in one way or another, whether it's you with the Community Lions, and it's an excellent pitch. Excellent grounds, and we know a few people up there, and I'm sure we'll be warmly welcomed.
Meanwhile, we'd like to thank Andy Whitfield from Bentley. We'd like to thank Miller Dalton from Hensingham, Ste Edgerton for taking his time out and talking to us about Pilks, and Neil Cherryholme for his comments as well about Oldham St Anne's. We're done and dusted for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. Spread the word. We're going to be talking Community Rugby League all the way through the season. And if you have some news for us, if you want us to talk about what's going on at your club, well, you can easily find me at Dave Parkinson RL over on X. You can tweet us as a show, as we mentioned before. Just get us involved. And if you want to come on and as a guest, if you want to talk about what's going on at your club, again, just get a message to us, and we'll gladly feature what's going on, won't we, Steve?
Yeah, certainly some of the newer clubs that have joined in from the Northwest Men's point of view. We want to know how are you going on, how you think your season's going on, what are your thoughts for the way your team can go, moving on into the future. A couple of weeks' time, obviously the Yorkshire lads will be back, won't they?
They definitely will. Yeah. We'll be able to bring you all up to speed with everything that's going on there, and in the Carler League as well. But thanks as always, Steve.
Cheers, mate.
And we'll see you next week.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.